With me is the Foreign Minister of Peru. He is in India for the Raisina dialogue. So, welcome to WION. And my first question to you is about the relationship. If you can perhaps give a broad overview of the relationship, how the relationship has been going, and what are your expectations from the relationship?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for this interview. I'm honored and pleased to be one of the invitees of our region, the Latin American region, to the Raisinia dialogue. It is, I think, the first time that a Peruvian foreign minister has been invited to this very important dialogue, which takes place here in India, a leading country, a friendly country, of the global south. I think it is very important to talk about our perspective of the current world affairs. India and Peru have been very, very close since times ago. We have a very active embassy of India in Peru, and likewise a Peruvian embassy, which is also very active here in India. As a matter of fact, India has become now a third largest trading partner. That's why we are also striving to have an FTA, because imagine, without an FTA being the third largest partner of our economy, it's a lot to say. So I look forward that our deep-rooted cultural and political, as well as multilateral links will be also strengthened through an FTA, which will, I think, make our trade grow, a very much faster pace.
So, you mentioned about the free trade agreement. Perhaps you can talk about have the talks started, or if the talks haven't started, what are the preparations that are going on? Are we looking at any timeline for its conclusion? So, a broader view on that as well?
Well, you see, we have been already negotiating. Indian and Peruvian expert teams have met already several times here, and also here in India, and also in Peru. And we are very, very insightful that we will get an FTA closed at the latest by the end of this year.
Mhm. End of this year. That looks a very ambitious target. If you can talk about that, and as the trade and investment relationship as well, you have already pointed out India is the third largest trading partner. So, what all are the main pillars of this trading relationship?
Well, in trade, what we export mainly to India is something very well appreciated in both countries, India and Peru, which are minerals, and amongst them, primarily gold. But also, we have a lot of other materials, prime matters, and also, excuse me, and also other semi-elaborated parts which can be exported to India. India, in turn, can and has already made large investments in Peru, and we'd like to invite Indian investors to come and build up some enterprises there. Transformation zones we have a lot, so I think we have all the conditions so that Indian investors can look up to Peru and, of course, to Latin America in general, and specifically to my country.
Mhm. So we were talking about FTA. So if the FTA is concluded by year end, which is an ambitious target, how can Peru be a launch pad for Indian investors in the wider region, in the wider South American region?
Well, Peru has a special trade and economic integration agreements with all its regional, geographically nearby countries. The Andean community, for example, we're talking about a large market there too. We are also members of the Alliance of the Pacific, which is a very interesting economic integration scheme that includes both Mexico, Colombia, and of course Chile. And of course we have the closest ties, not only geographically but also economically, with Brazil and Argentina, which are the two largest countries in the South American region. So I think we have a hub position for India to install herself in South America and in Latin America in general. No?
You also mentioned about Indian investments, large Indian investment. Perhaps can you give some examples of large Indian investments from India in your country?
Well, you see, for example, we have a what we call an infrastructure breach. I'd like to call it better an infrastructure investment opportunities of more than $100 billion. Anything that is infrastructure is still needed in Peru. Roads, bridges, trains, for example, metro lines, etc. I think they are in dire need in Peru. And we also have what they also call a mining breach. That is, mining projects which are ready to be invested in. And this amounts to around more than $50 billion, which is also a large amount of money, and it is very attractive. You know, the quality of our minerals, meaning to say the concentration of them, no? In the whole material which is removed from the mines is very, very high, one of the highest in the world. So it's world-class mining that we have, and I think India will be well served investing in Peru. And we have also the manufacturing and semi-manufacturing processes in Peru, in which India is also a leading country worldwide, not only industrial, but also in everything which has to do with agriculture. So I think we have many projects. We have been working very, very close with some international advising companies. There are 5 of them worldwide, which are very well known, and all of them classify Peru as a highly interesting point of investment.
Anything on the defense side of the relationship or the security side of the relationship you're looking with India?
Well, we are aware of the large and important role that the defense industry has played and is playing in India. And I think we should approach ourselves, both the Indian military and the Peruvian military, so that they can evaluate avenues of cooperation, but I'm really sure they are really open to both of our countries.
So, as the foreign minister of Peru and India engaging with the wider global south, what's your view about the situation in global south as the foreign minister of a country of the global south? If you can perhaps talk about the key challenges you see and where India can come forward and help you.
Well, you see, for us it's fundamental to have a leveled multilateral playing field. Without this, without the primacy of international law, for example, small and medium countries like Peru, for example, would have too many problems to go ahead and have a stable relation with other countries in this international scenery. That's why we have devised, since I came into being a foreign minister, we have devised a strategy called a constructive neutrality. That is, anyone who is interested in Peru and helping out Peru and investing and cooperating with Peru is very welcome. We don't discriminate by ideology, geographical position, or the size of the country. So we are, of course, in a hemisphere which is very near from the United States, and the United States is, of course, most welcome to invest and cooperate and go together, both in interest of Peru's and U.S. interests. But of course, we're also open, for example, with China. The Chinese partners there are very large right now. It is our first trading partner. It is our first investment partner, and China wasn't that 10 years ago. 10 years ago, the figure was different. But they have invested and they have found a very attractive point of to do trade or commerce and invest. And also, of course, absolutely accepting that Peru is open and will still be open to any other trading partners and investment partners, like India. And we have high interest in India, the largest populated country in the world, with a technology standard which is world class and progressing so fast. It's really admirable. And this is something that we'd like to transpose with Indian help, of course, to Peru.
We will come back to India, and this interview is largely on the India-Peru relationship. But talking about your relationship with United States, how has the Trump administration impacted Peru? Because his policies have impacted globally every country. It has impacted India with the immigration issue. Has immigration been an issue, and how do you see the relationship going forward between Peru and Trump's America?
You know, when Mr. Trump was his first time in the administration, the American administration, he took up a FTA that already existed with Peru. He took it up in about $12 billion whole trade a year, and 4 years later, this trade amounted to $16 billion. So it has only grown at that time, and we don't see any reason why things must have changed. So am really confident, and with my talks with different American officials of this present administration, the signs that I get is that this very positive and active relationship with the United States will be kept on. We have an FTA, which is a very good and very modern FTA, which has a little bit unbalanced to our side. So it is positive for for the American side. So they don't have to fear, as they are fearing with other countries, they're having a trade disbalance or unbalance against them. It is exactly the opposite with Peru. But I think we can enhance that much more. We are striving so that the American companies who prefer to invest elsewhere come back to the Latin American region and specifically to Peru. And we are doing a very strong point with them, and they are looking into the wide possibilities as having Peru as a hub, which has a dual purpose, a purpose towards Asia, to the Asia Pacific, to India, to Japan, to China, to the southern part of Asia, Southeast Asia, and of course to in the inlands of Latin America, of South America, Brazil, Argentina, Colombia, Ecuador, etc. So with our large coastal line, I think we are very attractive in this sense.
Now coming back to India-Peru relationship, India has been keen to be a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council. There have been growing calls when it comes to Global South for reforming the UNSC. The UNSC looks dysfunctional, especially after the COVID crisis, the conflicts both in Europe and West Asia. What's your position when it comes to India's bid and the larger view on the reform of the United Nations?
Well, I wouldn't call it, as you said, a UN system that is dysfunctional. I think the reality just grew out of the initial scheme of the international order. We have to remember that particular international order came into being after the Second World War, and the disarray in which at that time were all countries. Now things have changed. We are many more countries. with 193 countries, if I'm not mistaken, not anymore the 50 or so countries that existed, more or less at the time of the San Francisco Charter. So we have to really rethink the structure. But I think the basis of the international system must remain the same. That is open multilateralism, the reign of international law, and the state equality. And in this sense, of course, I am for, Peru is for a reform of the whole United Nations systems to take into account these new changes and realities that we live now, and of course at the UN Security Council too. And I think we have been discussing, member states, this reform of the UN Security Council already for some time. And it is time, I think, that what it is called the Global South, with different representatives, be present as a permanent member in that particular Security Council. It is very difficult, I know, but it is not impossible, because I think realism has to impose herself into whatever structure we have. Otherwise, this structure risks to become obsolete or to be overrun by reality.
And India, what's your position on India?
Well, India, of course, it's a key player. I mean, it's one of the largest and also very amicable country in the world. So I think India is, of course, something that we will keep on cheering up in her strive to be a significant country within the international order, something that we have been doing in the past, and we will do that actively also in the future. Of course, we have to balance that. We have also Africa, which is very important, and have very important representatives, countries that are very, very important in Africa. And then you have countries like Peru in South America, which are also very important. We are not the largest country or one of the larger countries in Peru, in South America, of course, but I think we are a key player also. So I think we will have to have a very amicable new international power distribution in which India, African countries, and South American countries like Peru, for example, but of course Brazil or Argentina must have a very important role.
So my last question to you is on the people-to-people relationship. It forms the bedrock of every relationship. What's your view about more Indians going to Peru and go to your famous sites, and more Peruvians coming to India as well? So if you can talk about that as well.
Yes, of course. Yes, I think I always repeat that we functionaries, people that work in the international relations, but also work in other realms of government in general, we are only the builders of the structures. Within the people must move and be active. So the so-called people-to-people diplomacy, I think, is the ultimate goal. India and to be known to Peru, which is already known to Peru, and thank you, for example, to many universities here and institutions, educational institutions that offer scholarships to Peruvians to come to learn world-class technology, for example, or engineering, or even the arts, But also they learn about the Indian culture, which is a center of civilization, just as Peru is a center of civilization. Here in India happened that many, many years ago. And we must be together proud of our heritage. And this is the way I think we discover. You like, for example, you have a very rich cuisine, and you like hot platters, hot food. We also like hot platters, hot food. So we have many similarities. And Indian films, so-called Bollywood productions, are also very famous and known in Peru.
Any favorite movie of yours?
Oh, well, Slumdog Millionaire.
Okay.
Very good one.
That was a Hollywood movie, by
Yeah,
the way.
was a Hollywood movie, but it was great. It was great. I mean, it somehow depicted India in an aspect which is only one aspect of India. India is so rich culturally that one is really astonished after reading or seeing a little bit of India and say, well, okay, this is India, but also you have many other sides. You have the Himalayas. You can ski here. You can go to the jungle here. I mean, you can do so many things, and this is something to discover.
And yoga, do you do yoga? Is yoga popular in Peru?
I'm sorry?
Yoga. Is yoga popular in
Yes, of course. Yoga is popular in Peru, and also all I would say what we call the Indian way of life, which is a very calm way to see life and to take things, daily things, one at a time, and the music, of course, no, the so-called in Peru, I think it's called mantra music or something like that, which is very, very attractive also. So we have a lot of common points, and we have only to connect the dots. And this exactly is what we are now doing.
Connect the dots. That's the clear message. Thank you so much, sir, for speaking to WION, giving us an overview of the relationship, whether it's the FTA, whether it is the popularity of Bollywood movies, or whether it is how both countries can take the relationship forward. Thank you so much, sir, for speaking to
Thank you
WION.
very much. Thank you very much. A very big greet to the Indian people through your waves and TV channels. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. With video journalist Ajit Sidhant Sibal for WION in New Delhi.